Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas. How many of you have a happy place? A place that you can just sort of close your eyes and you are there. And especially, you might close your eyes at a time when it's like stressful and crazy. You know, stressful and crazy? You know, like it's Christmas Eve and a couple hundred people are coming and you got to get up and say something and it better be good. You know what I mean? We've all been there, right? So I have a couple happy places. One of mine is kind of an odd place. It's a spot in Scotland. On the west coast of Scotland, there is an island called the Isle of Mull. And Mull is a large island. It's also sparsely populated, but it's gorgeous. And in this little corner of Mull, an area that is not very traveled, there is a 5,000-year-old Neolithic standing stone circle. It's kind of like Stonehenge, just that it's smaller and without the visitor center and the gift shop and a huge parking lot. To go to the Loch Buie standing stone circle, you drive down a one-lane road, and I mean one lane. Like if another car is coming at you, one of you has to get off the road to let the other pass before the other can go through. You drive that for miles, and then you pull off the side of the road, basically in a ditch. You get out of the car, you walk through a very wet cow field, and then you go through a hedgerow. And when you get to the other side of the hedgerow, you're in another cow field, and about 200 feet to the left is this 5,000-year-old standing stone circle. And part of the reason I love it is because if you go, you're guaranteed to be the only person there. And part of the reason I love it is because it's this little hidden gem that like no one knows about. And part of the reason I love it is because something happened there. And 5,000 years later, we're not really sure what. We don't know a whole lot about the people who built these sort of things. We don't know exactly how they built them. One of the stones is 3 meters high out of the earth and a couple meters in the earth. The whole thing is lines up perfectly with the setting sun to the winter solstice, just a couple nights ago. How did they do that? Why did they do that? No one knows, and we'll never know. But something happened, and that something made this people make this thing, and that thing still stands 5 millennia later. I love that. You don't have to go across an ocean to go to a place where something wondrous happened, or something happened. You can drive into Pennsylvania and go to Gettysburg Battlefield. And you can walk around Little Round Top and Devil's Den, and you can know something happened there. You can go to the spot that Abraham Lincoln stood on when he delivered the Gettysburg Address. Something happened there. You can drive into Philadelphia, and you can go to Independence Hall, and you can walk into the room where the Declaration of Independence was drafted and signed, and then the Constitution of the United States was drafted and signed. Our nation was literally born in that room. Something happened there. You can drive up 95 with Manhattan off to your right, and off to your left will be the Meadowlands, and there will be MetLife Stadium in the middle of it. And right there in the center of that stadium, Taylor Swift was in concert this summer. Gentlemen, if you don't know who that is, that's Jason Kelce's brother's girlfriend. I don't want to leave anyone out. If you go to Bethlehem, there is a church. It's called the Church of the Nativity. And in the Church of the Nativity, there's an altar, kind of like this one, except it's open. You can see underneath of it, and you can specifically see the floor underneath the altar. And embedded in the floor is a 14-pointed silver star that looks like it was riveted or bolted to the floor like 1,000 years ago, because it was. And in the center of the silver star, there's about an 8-inch hole. And the hole goes through the star, but it also goes through the floor. And in that spot, that place marked out by that star, it is believed right there that Jesus was born. Now, I do get a little dubious about these things every once in a while. Like, how do we know it was right there? How do we know Mary wasn't like, just off to the side or a couple feet off to the side? Like, have you ever been to a birth? Things move around an awful lot. I don't know how they nailed it down to an 8-inch circle, but maybe it's that spot, and maybe they were a few inches off or a few feet off, or maybe it's a couple 100 feet down the road in the middle of a parking lot or something. But somewhere in Bethlehem, there is a spot, and in that spot, Jesus was born. In that spot, heaven and earth met. Christians have believed and proclaimed for 2,000 years that Jesus isn't just a great man. He wasn't just a great teacher. He wasn't just an important historical figure. He is all of those things. But we've believed and proclaimed that he is the incarnation of God. He is God in the flesh, God come among us. And when he came among us right there. And I mean, there's a lot of places in our life that we could nail down to right there. You might be able to go back to maybe the place where you were engaged, or the place where you were married, or the place where you lost your first tooth, or your first kindergarten classroom. But the point of the incarnation, even though we can say with some certainty that he was born in Bethlehem, in a spot right there, the point of the incarnation is it transcends that one spot. It's not just that Jesus came there, it's that Jesus came here. It's that the creator of the universe, who created it in all of its vastness and all of its wonder, entered into the universe in all of its vastness and all of its wonder. And so the point isn't just that Jesus came a long time ago in a land far away over there, but that Jesus came here. That hole under that altar in that church in Bethlehem is a sacred spot, but so is the ground under our feet here. For Jesus didn't just go there. Jesus came here. And that has ramifications. It has ramifications because it says that here is important. And when Jesus comes, the importance gets ramped up even more. God honored us with his coming here. Some of you might be, some of you probably are, Bernards Township residents. And so you know that towards the end of May, there is Charter Day. 250 some years ago, the King of England issued a charter creating Bernards Township, and that's wonderful. Imagine for a moment that this year, for Charter Day, the King of England's coming. King Charles is coming. Woo! Yeah, I know. Imagine he comes and he walks down Finley Avenue, and he walks down to the dais right there where the great oak tree once stood, and he addressed the town. Would that be an honor? Yeah. Yes. Yeah, right. Okay. Says the Brit. Okay. It would be an honor. The picture would be everywhere. We wouldn't be able to ever hear about it again. It would be everywhere. Now imagine if, when he's here, And he's dressed he's got like all those medals, and he's got the sash, and he's got the whole outfit on. Imagine that we presented him with a Ridge High School football jersey. Sorry, Owen, a Watchung Hills football jersey, or a Bernard's, or whoever your high school is. I don't want to cause a fight here on Christmas Eve. We hand him a football jersey, and he breaks all protocol, and he puts the jersey on. That's big, right? That would be big. That would be big. That picture would be hanging in that high school forever. The point of Christmas isn't that a King of England came. The point of Christmas is that God came. And when God came, God didn't put on a jersey. God put on us. And that is an honor. It's also a little frightening, or at least it should be. Imagine, again, the King of England's here, and imagine he knocks on your door. If he knocked on my door and I opened the door and it's King Charles standing there. Hello! I would be like, oh, the King of England's here. And then immediately, less than a quarter second, I'd go, oh my gosh, there's a huge pile of shoes right here. And I know there's dishes in the sink that haven't been done yet. And I have a dog who I love dearly, but who's barking its head off. And this is super embarrassing right now. My house is not ready to greet King Charles. Is our world ready to greet God? If my house is a little bit of a mess, isn't our world a little bit of a mess? Isn't it a lot of a mess? And it's not even just like geopolitics or national politics. It's the stuff that we come to Christmas Eve with. It's the things in our heart that make us sad, that make us worry, that make us anxious, that make us mad, that's scaring us to death. The things in our hearts that weigh on us, we bring them with us. The world's a mess, but we have our own little messes. And the point of Christmas is that God didn't come because he didn't know it was a mess. The point isn't that God came despite our mess. God came because of our mess. To be in our mess with us, to walk in our mess, to sit in our mess, to hold our hand, to hold our heart, if we'll open the door. As important as that 8-inch hole is in that floor of the Church of the Nativity, there's a more important 8-inch spot that Jesus be born into. And that's the 8 inches around our own hearts. That's where it matters that Jesus is born, mess and all. When today, Bethlehem is a mess. It is a sad mess. 2,000 years ago, Bethlehem was a mess. They didn't have room in the inn for him to be born. Will there be room in us and our mess for Jesus so that we can say, right here, something happened? Amen.